Hi everyone. So I believe everything is good and we are together, which is great because tonight I want to be talking to you about how to thrive. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we can say about how to thrive. So I'm going to wait till a few more of you are on. I can see you coming in, which is great. Lovely to see everybody. Excellent. All right. So I hope you've got your cup of tea or your glass of water as we kind of settle into this really fascinating and big topic. So, a lot of what I'm going to be guided by tonight is your questions. Yeah. It's such a massive topic. We could do many of these Facebook Lives or many day classes on how to thrive. So your questions are going to really guide where we take it today. So get them coming in so that we can have a great discussion about it, because I think one of the most important things I want to say about thriving, yeah, if we define surviving as meaning you are literally getting through your day. And I want to say every single one of us has been there. I have had many times, many years when I have been in that sort of survival mode. And that doesn't have to be life threatening. It doesn't have to be in extreme circumstances, even. It's more that your daily life isn't holding the richness of really conscious interaction with what you're doing. You're not feeling like you are choosing the kind of life that you're living. And so, therefore, you're kind of on autopilot. And this autopilot just kind of gets up in the morning and you go through your day and you go to bed and you get up in the next morning and you do exactly the same thing. And often your sleep pattern is reacting to that kind of existence. So it's not particularly good. So you've just got this kind of cycle of sort of like a mediocrity within your life. There's no extremes of emotion, or the emotion is one of just struggle. So it doesn't have to be that way. I worked in clinical practice for a couple of decades, and I really hope that it's reassuring or empowering for me to tell you that the movement in your energy field between being in that kind of automated way of being or struggling in your own life, whether you're recovering from an illness or just kind of going through the slog of your life, the difference between that energetically and really thriving is minuscule, absolutely minuscule. And I really want you to hear that, because there's nothing dramatic that has to change for you to experience your life differently. There's nothing huge. There's not years and years of hard work. It's a tiny difference. And the tiny difference is what's going to be the key for your system. Yeah. So I hope that in our webinar now we get the chance to actually just touch on lots of different options, because some of them won't resonate with you. They won't be the key that inspires your system to move from that kind of fight, flight, freeze, autopilot or struggle basis into the place of feeling the joy in the everyday, feeling the joy in the tiny things in life, in the big things in life, not really minding about the stresses that are around, being able to be resilient amidst those stresses rather than those stresses feeling absolutely huge. All right, so let's have I already see lots of questions coming in, which is brilliant. Please keep them coming in today. Sometimes it seems so easy to access that thrive energy, and other times it's a million miles away despite best intentions in trying to reach it. What can we do on the days that we can't find it? I love that question, because I'm sure every single one of us know that maybe things have had a bit more flow and ease for a few days. And then suddenly it all goes and it feels like it's so far away. So one of the really important things to do then is to remind yourself that it will come back. And in a way that sounds so easy, but if you can visualize the dance between your conscious and your subconscious mind, almost like a scales or a teeter-totter, a seesaw, yeah? So you've got this balance between what the subconscious programs are playing out and where your conscious mind is helping move them. And that whole line of the teeter-totter or the seesaw is your energy. Yeah, so your energy is going to play the movement between that feeling of simply surviving and the feeling of thriving. That's an energetic shift. So anytime it feels like, oh, I can't even be bothered to be enthusiastic about. I can't even think about having a positive thought today. And we've been there. Anytime that comes, then actually recognize you don't have a duty to catch your thoughts and create some positive wonderment from it, but you do have a duty to recognize, okay, today is one of those days when I'm in my deep places. I'm in my edge places. Because if you can think of it like that, you recognize straight away that that won't be permanent. And just that consciousness brings a space into the energy fields. And within that space, then there's the potential for something to change. So that's the key thing. That's one of the very, very first things on those days when it feels like it's a million miles away to you being able to enjoy that day or your life in its fullness. So hold that image of the seesaw or the teeter-totter there. The other way is the great question is what can bring space into your energy fields? It's really simple. Your energy fields need space and flow, because when you give them that, they begin to find their patterns of health. Your energy field knows how to be healthy in every way. And healthy, by healthy, I mean vibrant, thriving, being able to flex and flow with anything that your day brings you. So when your energy field has flow, it's able to find its way back to that healthy pattern. To have flow, it needs space. So simple things like stretching, yeah? If you're feeling that today is difficult for you to access your joy, access your enjoyment of life, then a stretch, simple stretch. You can be sitting down and simply kind of put one hand down and one hand up and bring a stretch in. Anything that opens or moves your body, your energy fields, because they're the same thing, will begin to create the space for that ease, for that thriving energy to come back in. So movement's really key. Being grounded is really key. Now, groundedness, I've done a few of these Facebook Live webinars on groundedness. I've got a lot of blogs on my website on them, so I'm not going to give more time to that now. But please, if that's a concept that you're not familiar with, or you know you need more information about it, then go and check it out on my website, so that actually you can do some of those exercises to really bring that groundedness in. Because without the groundedness, you're not going to have that flow, and the potential for the space in your system really is very, very small at that point. So Emma, let me think of one more thing. We've got stretching, we've got groundedness, we've got the balancing, we've got the energy flow between the subconscious and the conscious. But another thing that's really powerful then is just supporting the heart, because pretty much if you're on this call right now, then you're already very conscious about yourself. You know that you have the ability to transform everything about your life. And sometimes that feels like a real burden, especially if it's not going particularly well. You can feel the guilt or the responsibility of it far more than if someone isn't really aware that they can have that real choice in their life. So when you feel like that thriving is far away, then supporting the heart system, supporting the courage system, so that you can still hold on to that hope, that trust, is really key. So one of my favorite ways to support the heart meridian, the energy channel of the heart system runs, let me check that you can see. So little finger side of the hand through the palm, and then along the channel that's just on the underarm, but all the way on the edge of that arm. And you have a series of very, very powerful points that go from the wrist crease, down for the full length of your fingers, and just to massage them. And you don't have to go in deep here. As soon as I do it, I feel a lift in my system, a pick up in my system. You can massage them, you can just hold them. Some of you will love just pulsing them, coming into those points for just a second's worth of pressure and then relaxing. Really great for the heart, for your blood, but especially for your courage. Anytime you feel like your spirit is dropping, that your hope is really being super quiet in your system, then that's when I would go into those heart points, and just they help call your essential energy back into your heart system. So it's a deep way to support your own system. All right, let's see. Yeah, Benjamin, you've got a brilliant question. Do you have any recommendations for exercises to deal with negative thoughts that keep looping? So that's a big place to go to those grounding exercises, and especially anything to do with the stomach meridian. Anytime thoughts are looping, and you know what? Positive thoughts don't loop, yeah? Only the negative thoughts loop. They just play over and play over and play over. And generally it's because of a disconnect that's happening between the head and the heart. And one of the big keys in your energy system for moving that through the body is you have a beautiful channel of energy that's related to the stomach meridian, that flows from the cheekbones around the face and then down through the throat, through the front of the body and off the feet. And that is designed to keep you grounded, keep that sense of belonging really deep in your system, have you deeply grounded into the kind of core of your being. And when that's operating really well, then those negative thought patterns don't loop. They might pop up and you can work with them, but they don't have that just continual presence. So I would really look to, let me show you one of the best things I do to really balance that stomach meridian. I just put my thumbs on the cheekbones underneath the eyes, sort of in line with the middle of the eyes, and pop your fingers on your forehead. And you can simply take a few breaths here. And this is also a great time, Benjamin, to be actively thinking about those negative thoughts, yeah? Track them. Be curious about them. What are they about? Why do they keep popping up? What needs to be embraced about them so that they can begin to settle? So those questions on themselves are very difficult, yeah? When you've got that looping energy, it's difficult to bring the curiosity to them. But when you're supporting it by holding energy points, by connecting, these points are very powerful for repatterning your neurological pathways. So when you're holding points, you can bring much more awareness into those questions. All right, put my glasses on so I can see easily. All right, what have we got? Jill, you're asking, how do you get out of the stuck feeling if you've had a long period of sadness and life challenges? How do you shift that heaviness of the long-standing stress and traumatic emotions? Yeah, I hear you there. That is that's a really deep place to be, isn't it, Jill? So it sits you heavy inside your center. And remember the balance here. Yeah, remember that place. Do you want to feel joyful? That's the first question to ask. Most of us, probably every one of us, have been in a situation where over a long period, months, even years, we recognize that deep heaviness. For some of you, it will be sadness. For some of you, it will be grief. For some of you, it will be anger. And it's a heaviness that kind of explodes out. But that place of depression, of worthlessness, those deep places. And absolutely, they prevent you from being able to thrive. They They rob you of that place of easy joy in your system. So energetically, that means that your energy habits have moved from their beautiful patterns of flow and they've kind of locked around certain issues. That's okay. That's very, very movable. Remember that your energy systems know how to be healthy. It just means they kind of got a bit of a software glitch running at the moment, that the pattern has become a stuck habit. So, like any stuck habit, you want to support it with two things. One is consciousness, and two is energy exercises, because together they are so incredibly powerful. So you're asking the perfect question here, Jill. How do you get stuck a bit? How do you shift that feeling? And the very first question I would be asking back is, do you want to feel joy? Because, and that's this for you to answer yourself. You don't have to write anything there. But for you to be able to ask yourself that, any of you who are experiencing that stuckness, do I want to feel joy? Do I want to feel ease? Do I want to thrive? And in lots of ways, the answer is dead simple. Yeah, of course I do. That's the casual answer. But actually, when you explore it, sometimes you realize, oh, there's a habit at play here. And in some ways, it's a comfortable habit. And that's not to say it's a conscious choice at all. But your energy systems, your way of being is supporting you being alive. Yeah, that's the key thing. When you're in fight, flight, and freeze, the only importance in your energy system is protecting your body, keeping you physically alive. Now, for most of us, that's not enough. Yes, we want to be alive, but we want to be living. We want to be thriving and joyful within that life. So the question then comes, when you ask that question to your energy fields, do I want to feel joy? Then all kinds of things start shifting and repatterning. There's kind of a great big question mark that comes into the middle of your stuck habits. And the more you ask the question, the more those stuck habits start reacting to it until space comes in. And when space comes in, then that stuckness disappears. So ask the question, start thinking about, what would it be like if I didn't have this heaviness in my life? What does that look like? How would I feel different? What am I wanting to experience? Because all of those conscious thoughts start traveling on energy into all of your deepest parts of your energy system. And from there, the radiance at your depth, because whether or not you've experienced it for years, that immense radiance is still there. And that radiance starts traveling from the depths all the way through the energy systems. So that is what I would do. Now, Jill, how about an energy exercise I would be bringing in there? Let me have a little think. Well, there's a few actually. One would be to, let's drop that down, pop your hand on your chest and be tapping the back of your hand. Now, for many of you who work with energy techniques, you'll be aware that this is used in a lot of energy psychology. You're going to be tapping anywhere between your fourth finger and fifth finger, your ring finger and your little finger, and you can literally just tap the hand there as you think about all of these questions. And it can be both hands. Find your rhythm. You're inviting your heart and your protective system to begin to communicate. And so your heart wants to be thriving. Your heart wants to be experiencing the beauty of life. And, you know, sadness and grief is part of the beauty of life, but it's got to be a balanced part. All right. Vicky, you're asking, hang on, let me have a slurp of my tea, otherwise it will be cold. Moving out of quarantine and re-engaging with others professionally and privately seems to be exhausting you. The energy just doesn't seem accessible. Ideas for that and conversion to thriving would be awesome. Okay, yeah, I've heard that a lot. So let's have a little think about what happens energetically when we've gone through something like lockdown. Your energy fields are invited to be very internal, which normally happens naturally with our energy around us in the seasons. That happens towards autumn and winter. But if you think about the timing of lockdown, it was as we came into spring, wasn't it? It was March onwards for most of us. So at that time, your natural energy system would be beginning to push and expand and look for action and connection. Now, unless you were someone who was a frontline worker and having to be super busy during that time, then actually there would have been this odd discombobulation of your energy field. What was going on societally was asking you to be very, very contained. Yeah, contained within your own home, contained not just within your normal social settings, but in a much, much smaller way. So it was like all of the antennas were being brought in lots of ways. And on top of that, collectively, there was a lot of fear and uncertainty, and that fear and uncertainty is still around a lot today. So you've got a collective energy field that's kind of not particularly easy. And at the same time, your own energy field has got this movement between beginning to have that connection again, beginning to unfurl those antennas, and still having various forms of social distancing, maybe wearing masks, still having to remain isolated from people. So in all kinds of ways, it's a really jangly energy. So I put actually tomorrow, Vicky, there'll be a video that I've just created and put out. It's available on YouTube now. That's called From Heart to Heart. That's the exercise I would really be advising from that. It's a very, very beautiful and powerful one, where you literally would cross both hands over your heart, take some nice connective breaths yourself, and then bring to mind your image of source or the divinity. Yeah, so that place of being able to then place one hand on the heart of that sacred spiritual energy and keep one hand on your own heart and just breathe the energy between both of your hands. Really immediately begins to repattern your energy field with that ease of connection. Give that a go and tell me how you get on with it. Okay, next question. Great question, really beautiful. I love how it's taken us in so many great directions. Eliza, you're asking, how can you help your system hold on to thrive when others around you are bombarding you with unthrive? So that's about resiliency, yeah? Your question is about resiliency. How do you remain resilient? Being grounded, yeah, key. It's kind of boring. I could do every one of these webinars and talk about groundedness, but it is so key. So being grounded, being inspired. Inspiration is the key to resilience. So what inspires you? And anytime you feel particularly vulnerable to other people's perspectives of fear or the burden of what they're experiencing right now, tap into that source of inspiration for you. Breathe it in. Really nourish it into your own system. That's what I would most advise with that. Cool. Excellent. So what else have we got? Have we got any more questions that have come in? Mary, you're asking, is it common for the feeling of real joy to bring with it a premonition that something terrible is right around the corner? No, that is not, that doesn't have to pair. I've seen that clinically. I've seen it with people who have experienced joy and really recognize they've experienced joy, yeah? And then their world has come crashing down in some way, that brings a fear attached to joy. So I'd really just unpack that premonition experience for yourself. And probably to do that, I would be working especially with holding my hands on the main stress points on the forehead, and also on a really powerful fear and courage point that is on the back of the head. Yeah, so I'm just holding my hands like this, essentially if I aligned my hands, they would look like that. So I'm, where am I? I'm kind of behind the eyes and the top of the nose, on the back of my head, and on the front of my head, I'm on my forehead. So really just think about that correlation, because otherwise your joy is always going to be sitting beside fear, and that's not thriving. Yeah, that's like a limited joy for you to be experiencing. So I would work with that to really help bring that into alignment, and be in full recognition that there's always movement. And so you might be experiencing joy, and then there might be something that rattles that joy, but not necessarily. All right. Okay, Martha, you're asking about sleep issues. Could you speak about sleep for people in their 80s, for elders? Yes, I certainly can. Let me gather my thoughts around that one. Do you feel that issue of not sleeping is affecting your ability to thrive? And the reason and please let me know, because the reason I'm asking that, Martha, is that I've known many of our elders who don't sleep brilliantly, and yet the sleep they get is enough for them to thrive in every way. So I'm wondering if your question is there because it feels like you're not thriving. There are, I kind of have to get rid of an assumption here, because some people in their 80s have incredible, resilient, strong, beautiful, magnificent energy systems. Some people in their 80s have systems that are much more subtle and fine at that point in their lives. So we can't have any assumptions about anything because of age. And of course, people who are in their 20s or even teens have sleep problems. So I'm feeling like, to really answer your question, I need more understanding about what you're actually asking. But generally, with sleep, what is wonderful, there is, I've got a video up on my YouTube channel which is all about sleep, and it takes you through a few different exercises around sleep, exercises for you to do when you go to bed. I would recommend you go and have a good look at that and just try them, see if it helps bring your system into a balance. Often people who are having challenges with sleep very lightly, and the exercises that I put together are designed to enable you to drop much deeper into your sleep patterns. Okay, and maybe we're on our last question. Diana, you're asking, what is happening with when the energy fields when you make a cross, such as blessing food or praying? So two different questions there. What's happening with your energy field when you make the sign of a cross, or when you're blessing food or praying? They can be the same question. I'm going to answer them as if it's the blessing food or praying. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What you're doing is you're moving into the sacred levels of your energy systems, much like that exercise I just talked about, from heart to heart. You transcend the personal aspects of your energy fields, and you start to move into the cosmic or the sacred. So when you do an act such as praying, giving gratitude to something, working in any kind of sacred way, when you shift your consciousness to that level, a few things happen in your energy system. So let me think about what happens. One is the energetic core activates, and now that energetic core is there all the time, and it's sending this amazing energy through your core, above your head, below your feet, just connective, and it connects you into everything other than yourself. So it connects you into the cosmos, into the earth. So when you move into the sacred, then that energetic core activates and radiates energy through all of your energy fields. So you kind of light up Yeah, that would be the first thing. If I was to see someone engaging in a sacred act of prayer or worship, then their energy fields light up. That would be the biggie. There's all kinds of things that happen. Often the heart field, the electrical field that comes out from the heart, really expands. And if there's an object of that prayer or devotion, then the heart field kind of has an amazing leap forward towards that energy. So maybe you have an altar and you're praying at that altar, or you're saying a blessing or prayer at the altar, then your heart field and the active energy of the altar, everything has energy, yeah? And altars have really beautiful altars energy. Maybe even if I'm talking about an area that you have some of your photographs of your family ancestors, so maybe your great grandparents or your parents, and you've got those photographs there, and you engage with that in the same way as you would engage with an altar. This becomes your ancestral shrine, your ancestral altar. Then your heart field and the living energy of that altar become in direct exchange. That's a really beautiful part of it. And also, there's something really super personal that comes into your energy field, like your stresses begin to melt away. Literally, if there was a protective fight, flight, freeze system in your energy system, then when you come into prayer or gratitude, then it just looks like it melts. It looks like it begins to kind of raindrop out of your system. So connecting into the sacred is an amazing thing for you to do on a regular basis. All right, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We've got there's a lot of intensity around us right now. It's a super intense time of societal change for us. And July, as far as I see the energy coming in, July is going to be even more intense than now. So keeping yourself in that place of resiliency, keeping yourself in that place of being able to be connective and protective, really key. I hope that some of these exercises and understandings will really empower you to do that. Much love to you all, and see you again next month. Bye bye.